Okay.
Video started. Okay, so what's your guys's? So, are you guys like what sources are you guys like left or right? Any of you guys, or what are you?
I'm middle.
Yeah, I had a BBC and I'm middle.
What are you, Carson?
I'm the Daily Wire. So conservative.
Okay, so that's right leaning.
Yeah.
I'm Fox News, so that's really right leaning too. What topic should we start out first on, the COVID one?
Yeah, let's just do COVID.
Okay. So, I guess my first article was mainly just about like the vaccine, and it was talking about actually Wisconsin and about how there's more people actually vaccinated right now than that got infected in Wisconsin. So it's kind of not. You can tell there's a little bit of bias in it because it, like, the right-leaning source isn't as careful, I guess you could say, when it comes to COVID. It's more like they don't really care as much. I don't want to put it that way, but that's like what it is. So they're kind of making it look like it's almost over. So they kind of want it to bring back to normal. So by saying that, like, there's more people that are now vaccinated in Wisconsin that are actually testing like positive and have tested positive, it's like really good. So they're trying to make it look like it's almost back to normal, so it's good for them, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of found the same thing with my source, which is also right-leaning.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of making it seem like it's over soon and we're like kind of over the hardest point. And my article is about how nursing home residents can now have visitors and like explaining how we can go see like our grandparents and stuff like that, and just kind of shining it bright to where this is all going to end.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess that really connects with mine because it just talks about like the future of how the vaccines are almost at the point where we can go back to normal.
Mine was also about the vaccine, and mine's the Wall Street Journal, so it's pretty middle. But this source was actually kind of leaning a little bit left because all it talked about was Biden, and it was just pretty much Biden's plan on how he's gonna make all adults eligible for the vaccine by May 1st. And it was kind of saying like Biden has been doing a very good job with the vaccines well in this, so that's what caused it to be a little left leaning.
Yeah, the article I read focused more on the Download Festival, which is like a music festival, and it got canceled due to COVID. And it was just like more informative, just talking about how although this cancellation occurred like before COVID, the COVID vaccine was like fully open to the public, but even with the vaccine out to like select individuals, the festival still got canceled, and everyone was just bummed, and they were starting to try to promote the 2022 event.
All right. What's the next topic you guys want to do?
Should we just do Biden presidency?
Sure.
Yeah, sounds good.
I can go. So, my group mainly focused about like the first 100 days, and so Fox News this was actually on the day, or no, it's the first 100 days of Biden, Obama, and Clinton. So it's really focusing about the left leaning and like how they had their first 100 days. And it really talks about like how it wasn't good. And they actually bring up a little bit about how Trump, even though like it's talking about left leaning the whole time, they still like talk about like how Trump did good things in his first 100 days. And they talk a lot about how just in the first few days, Biden was making a lot of changes, and they don't believe that it was correct because he made so many. They use the word plethora of lofty promises that he is trying to fulfill, because it's just talking about like during his campaign, he really promised a lot of stuff to the voters who voted for him, and he's trying to all get it done right now. So I guess that's mainly how it just was shifting towards the right.
Yeah, I found some very similar things with my research. My headline was actually Biden makes numerous false claims during a speech. And pretty much during his speech, he was kind of talking about, or kind of giving credit to his administration for coming up with that vaccine and for the improvements of COVID, when he didn't give any appreciation or like acknowledgement to the Trump administration for developing like a world record vaccine. So, yeah, I mean, they were just they seemed very mad writing this about how like Biden's taking all the credit and making false claims that he came up with it and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I guess, kind of going back to mine, I kind of, to relate to yours, it, like, mine seem also like they're kind of mad about how, like, the situation was handled. Because it makes Trump still look like the bad guy and Biden look like
the savior, yeah.
Like the savior. So, yeah.
My article was also with COVID as well. And Biden, and he met with the Quad world leaders, which is U.S., Japan, Australia, and India. That's like the Quad. And the big thing for that meeting was they pledged to produce 1 billion doses of the COVID vaccine by the end of 2022 in order to confront China. And Biden was boasting about, like Carson said in the article, it said Biden was boasting about the amount of vaccines he already got out in the U.S. and that the other countries need to keep up with him. So he's kind of trying to say the U.S. is the best in consideration of vaccines right now. So that was kind of, the source was a little bit right-leaning, I guess, and claim of kind of downing Biden and how he should be more humble. But overall message was just that they pledged to get 1 billion doses of the vaccine out by the end of 2022.
Yeah, my article talked about how Joe Biden was marking independence from COVID on July 4th. And he thought there's a good chance that all people could get vaccinated and we could have everything back to normal by July 4th. And he also said in his speech that all Americans would be eligible, like you guys said, for a vaccine by the beginning of May, which is a pace that he boasted about, my article said, and it was the best in the world. And although the article talked about him boasting and stuff like that, it seemed to overall support Biden more than the Republicans in general. And it talked about how he was exceeding expectations with the vaccine schedule. And although a lot of Republicans are skeptical that he was doing a good job.
Good. All right. What's the next one you guys want to go into?
Do you guys have social issues? We all have social issues, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do that one. You want me to start?
I can go if you want, or...
Okay.
Okay, I'll go. So, my group, we mainly focused on mental health, kinda. So, the main thing that they really talked about was, so we focused on mental health, and it was mainly about the whole pandemic. And it was seen a lot of individuals, teenagers, were getting more depressed, it seemed over the whole COVID span and everything, in the last year. So, I mean, they didn't, and this is very hard to lean left or right, I felt but I guess my opinion could maybe change based on what your guys say, but it was just mainly talking about how it's got worse over the last year. And it was 90% increases, or 84 to 90%, they said, increases in just more depression in teenagers.
Yeah, so my social issue kind of thing on the Daily Wire was about how the Olympics cleared athletes to protest and gave them guidelines they can raise their fist or take a knee, and obviously that's not a very like conservative type of view, because I think it's like disrespecting our flag and country and like veterans and that type of stuff. So they didn't really show that as much in this article, but you could tell like they weren't taking as much of a stand on this one, which I thought was interesting.
My article was about a country in Myanmar, which is a country in the Middle East, and it's basically talked about protesting and that their government or their military took over the government, and during the protest, more than 100 people were killed. So now, basically, the military is the government, and people are trying to fight for their rights so that they can get a government back, rather than having their military be in charge of everything. So that was mine about protesting.
Yeah, the topic that got chosen in my group for social issues was the host of The Bachelor, and how there's like comments on race that had a lot of problems. And apparently there's the girl that like ended up with The Bachelor. I'm not fully sure how the show works, but there was a girl that ended up with The Bachelor, and like photos came out where she was like at some like racist like party in college, and the host of the show like defended her. So they both got kind of canceled, you might say. And I think the host is like taking a break, and she got like her and The Bachelor broke up. And the article just seemed to be more informative rather than opinionated. And it like showcased the statements and actions of Chris Harrison, who was the host. And it kind of left it for the reader to decide which side they're on.
I guess should we go to the next one then?
Sounds good.
All right. So the economy.
Yeah.
Mine was mainly talking about just there's a lot of new jobs coming in March, which honestly it's weird because I feel like they wouldn't be talking about this as much, because then it looks like Biden's doing a really good job considering he's adding more jobs. But so they're adding just about 1 million jobs in March, which is actually really like that's really good. But yeah, it just mainly talks about like how it's good for the economy because it's more money flowing. But it does say in it like it was like last like a year ago when it doesn't say like Trump helped it, but they're like a year ago like it fell to the lowest that it was with COVID, and then like throughout the last year kept on going up. So this is what should have happened. So I guess they are kind of taking away credit from Biden, and they're trying to make it look like it's Trump's kind of started it. So I mean that's the only really right-leaning thing I can see in this piece.
Yeah, mine was kind of along those lines. Biden's chief like financial advisor, I have it written down as, apparently he said he made like 19 million new jobs with the new bill, and pretty much it was just like ripping her apart because she wouldn't like say that wasn't true or like go against it, even though like everyone knew it was. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
My article was about the stock market and how S&P 500 got to record high during March. And March was a pretty big time where like short stocks and like GameStop and stocks like those were just going to the moon basically. So that gave a lot of publicity around the stock market, and a lot of new people joined in on the stock market, which allowed S&P 500 to get to a record close high, and they joined Dow as the like one of the top two new highs, which basically just control the stock market. And S&P pretty much just has, it's basically if you invest in S&P, it's like an investing in like the top 100 stocks. So a lot of people put their money into that when the stock market like boomed, I guess, which is great since when COVID first hit, the stock market just dropped a bunch.
Yeah, my article was about labor unions, and it was like President Biden warning companies against intimidating their staff, like considering joining a labor union. And it focused on Amazon a lot, which has been accused of taking aggressive steps towards like stopping labor unions and stopping their employees from joining labor unions. And it was just like a more informative take, but some parts showed levels of agreement with like the president saying labor unions shouldn't be coerced and things like that.
All right, shall we get to the last topic then?
Do we all have the same fifth topic?
Oh, I don't. Do we?
Ours is
We got
environmental.
space.
Oh, we have environmental. Who is? Wait, does that Carson? Do you have space?
No, we have climate,
All right.
which I guess is environmental.
Okay.
I can start with my space one
Okay.
then.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. If you just want to do that.
Okay, so my space article was about SpaceX, and SpaceX finally managed to land one of its Starship prototypes at the end of a high altitude test flight, and that's really like promising towards the next generation of space vehicles, and taking steps towards making it to Mars and stuff like that. It's really encouraging, and although the SpaceX ship landed, it blew up after the landing. The team stayed encouraged with the results, and the landing is the furthest any of their tests have gotten. So obviously progress is being made.
All right. So mine, my group, like we talked about the Texas blackouts, and when that happened, that was like a month ago though. But yeah. So like around February, it's like when they reach like record lows. It kind of, there's really no bias a lot in it, except AOC. You guys know who that is, right?
Yeah.
It kind of like goes against, because she was really going towards like a new bill that she wants to pass, and in here I think they kind of like explained why it's not good, and so I guess that's kind of like they're right leaning ish, but nothing really more than that, I guess. So yeah.
I'm also in Nate's group, so I also did next thing, and I focused on the Texas electric grid. And in my article, it said the Texas power grid was minutes away from collapsing during the freeze, so all of Texas would have been blacked out. And I know parts of Texas, some cities were blacked out and had no connection, but there was only like 60. There was 60 hertz of energy, and the normal level is 120 hertz. So they had only half of the energy available once the Texas freeze was going on. And then there was barely any gigawatts of electricity also, as they were all trapped inside of the cords and they were frozen. So Texas had a big scare within their electricity system, and I'm glad that the warm weather is happening now and they're back to normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so mine kind of went in a different direction. One thing I want to point out before I start is that, like, checking this weekly, there's like literally one article a month about climate, and I think that's like due to the fact that it's very conservative, and like, I don't know, the Daily Wire just never mentions it. But the one I have here is about Biden had a new bill or plan for climate change, and like over 12 states ended up suing him. Missouri in particular said they needed like all their manufacturing, agriculture, and energy, and basically said the way he had it set up, they wouldn't like be able to employ thousands of people across the state. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Well,
That wraps it up.
yeah. Good discussion, I guess. So
Great discussion.
A lot of interesting points being made.
Yeah, good connections being made too. So I guess we'll leave it there. All right. Good talk, guys.